Welcome to episode 54.
You're distorting again. You're distorting. Oh, no.
Was I really distorting?
Yeah, I'm joking. I'm fucking around with you.
Where's your float 32?
Yeah, true. I don't think that one's actually probably have float 32.
No, they don't have any float at all. They're old. The new model
Are
of
you
the
telling
H6,
me my crap shit?
Your crappy shit, that's right, because crappy shit, that's right. My H6 doesn't have a float 32 in it. The new model of the H6 does.
Yeah, maybe I should upgrade it. I've got the H5.
If it works, it works. You don't use it that often anyway.
That is true.
Anyway.
Welcome to Seeking Focus, a podcast that provides photographers and videographers with a place to critically compare technology, share ideas, and enhance their skills.
There we go.
Hang on, I've got to get my vino happening.
I have to tell you, look, normally we bounce off each other and say, how was your weekend? How was your weekend? But today I've got a story that I want to give you on the way in to
my place.
To your studio, yes, your place.
Okay.
Someone rang me, a photographer buddy of mine, who we actually had on the show. Well,
Gene?
No, not Gene. I'm not allowed to say names. I've been asked not to say names.
Oh, really? Okay.
But we had a recording of him in one of the very early sessions where he had a customer that wouldn't pay him. Remember that recording?
Oh, yeah.
The customer was going nuts on the phone. We put it on the podcast and they're like, yeah, you want your money? You know where you can shove your money? And it's like just dragged on and stuff. Anyway, he rang me up. And anyway,
this was like one of the really early episodes, though, wasn't it?
It was one of my favorites, actually. That recording was awesome. But anyway, he rang me up and I was literally around the corner from your house. And he's like, I've got a bit of an issue. And I said, oh, yeah, sure. And so a background is he's here working in Australia. He's from overseas and he's struggling to find photography work. He's a photographer and videographer. He does the odd jobs here and there, but nothing huge, which would justify a long-term sort of project. So he's been taking small jobs here and there, but they're drying up, as they normally do around this period because people aren't really doing that much. But so he basically was listening to our podcast and he heard our suggestion about where you can find work.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the earlier episodes.
Yes.
And he went off and started looking at these places and he applied to a couple of them and he couldn't find any photography-based jobs, but he saw something that said, we're looking for a secret shopper.
Oh.
Have you ever heard of a secret shopper?
Yeah.
And the location was literally 5 minutes down the road. So he went, look, it's not photography, but it's a quick buck and I need money at the moment, so I'll do it. Yeah. So he signed up. No real information. He suddenly gets this phone call from the person who posted the advertisement. And when I heard this, I couldn't stop laughing.
I'm getting an idea slowly.
So, actually, you're going to be surprised by this one. I'm not even allowed to say the company. I promised I wouldn't say the company. Yeah. But so he gets this phone call, and it's based on this company goes off and delivers food. Oh. All right. So, and they need to have shops having menu pictures and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so they basically used to organise for shops to go off and get their own photographer, but then it was just a pain in the rear end, so they brought in their own photographers, and over time they sort of went, it's not working, so they outsourced photography. So he was joining up to do mystery shopping, and they turned around and they said, look, we want you to take photos of food. And he's like, okay, I'm a photographer, that's perfect, And they said, look, so it's going to be a huge, it's probably like 48 meals or something like that we need photos of. And he's like, oh, okay. And he said, so where do I go to do these shoots? Is it one restaurant, multiple restaurants? They said, no, we're going to deliver all the food to your house. Anyway, right. So now he's going to be receiving $2,000 worth of takeout food that he has to take photos of.
Wow.
Could you
every
imagine?
day?
It's not every day. It has to be done within 1 week.
Oh.
Now imagine getting $2,000 worth of takeout in 1 week.
Wow. But interesting.
How are you going to eat it? There's him and his partner.
You invite some people over.
He actually invited me over. What would you like? And I said to him, why are you not asking me? What you should do order is like $2,000 of buttered chicken, fill up your bathtub and swim around in it.
Yeah.
But that is the strangest thing I've ever heard. Like $2,000 delivered to your house of takeout food in plastic containers.
Let me get this straight. So normally food is presented quite nicely, right?
Exactly. So you go to a restaurant, it's plated, it's put on a nice dinner set. There's a few things around. There's people pretending to be delivered.
It's going to look like...
Well, most of the time when you get food delivered to your house, it looks like crap. It's in this plastic container. It's being broiled for like, the whole 30-minute delivery to your house.
Yeah.
All right. Nothing is crisp and clean. And you just have to just go, yeah.
So he's just going to dump it on like a white plate or something like that. And boom. Bitches.
Yeah, but then he's going to clean those plates as well.
Yeah.
And so I said to him, just go down to the local shopping centre and buy yourself a whole bunch of those paper plates.
Yeah.
And just put the food on, take a photo, throw it in the bin, next one. But $2,000 of takeout food, that would be a lot of takeout food.
Wow. That's an interesting one. I haven't heard that one before.
I'll
give you that one.
I broke out in laughter on the way here. I thought I'd share that with you, but anyway, so that's my story for this week. Have you got anything that you'd like to talk about?
I don't actually have anything as funny as yours, but I have actually been. A while back, I've actually got a 3D printer, and listen. Lately, I just sort of thought to myself, what am I going to do with this? So, if you're following me on my Instagram, I have posted a few bits and pieces, not a lot, but I bought one of those the Scanlan boards from IKEA, and
sorry, for people who don't know, is it a Scanlan board?
I think it is actually. I can't actually.
So you need to describe it though, because there's people like me who.
It's a pegboard essentially.
Pegboard, okay, so something that you put up on your wall, then you stick things to.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool.
So basically, started 3D printing all the mounts and everything else for it, it's actually looking good, because you know what the thing is? Every time I do a shoot, right, I pack my stuff up, put it on the ground, on the floor of the studio, and then I basically make sure that obviously everything is packed and ready to go and everything else. But now, visually, I can actually look at it, because I've got 5 GoPros or 3 GoPros and 2 action cameras. I know which ones I need to take with me. So essentially, I know visually, oh shit, I've got to pick that up and put that in my bag, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's kind of, it's actually not a bad idea.
I think it's fantastic. You got a wall of GoPros there, which is really good. My GoPros live in a bag under the couch somewhere, and I keep forgetting I've even got them until someone says, do you have a GoPro? And I'm like, oh yeah, I've got 4 of them.
You don't actually do much car stuff. I've picked up a few clients that are doing car stuff, and they wanted a talking in a car kind of thing, like a So I had to mount basically all 3 GoPros all around the whole car at the back, and also so essentially I used 4 GoPros, to actions, and on it to film everything and then sync everything in post production, and turned out really well. So he was really happy with it. So
that's look, it's a great design. You might notice you can hear this change in my voice. I'm turning my head to look at them. I like the little holders for the GoPros, which ironically is a really great segue to
our episode
today's episode. Yeah. So we today are going to be talking about something that we've never actually tried. We've been reading the reviews and the comments and stuff. So it's based on information that's been provided to us, and we've been a bit skeptical about it. So we're only giving you the ones that we're sort of pretty confident about.
Yeah.
Right. So,
well, this was brought up recently in Vegas, because Vegas had the NAB show, right?
Yes.
Last week, 2 weeks ago, whenever it was now. And they announced that GoPro
has got their new model.
Ta-da!
And it's not a GoPro Hero, which is typically what they've been releasing for the last 10 years or 15 years.
They're on the Mission.
It's called the GoPro Mission.
Yeah.
But it's not just one camera. It's 3 different versions of the same camera. So
I should probably say something. So NAB, a lot of people might not know what that is. Do you know what NAB stand for? Because that's an interesting one, actually.
Well,
so it's an NAB show. It's an annual show in Vegas that happens, and all the people.
What is the abbreviation stand for?
See, I knew you wanted to know that.
I actually know the NAB as the NAB, but I've never really bothered to. I'm sure I've probably heard it, but I don't remember what it was.
Well, funny you should ask. So, NAB Show is an annual trade show produced by the National Association of Broadcasters. So that's where it is. Mm-hmm. National Association of Broadcasters. It started in 1991. There's some background there.
Yeah. And that's in Vegas, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, last year we did this episode similar to that timing, and I said we should go to Vegas.
I got offered free tickets to it.
I know. And why don't we go?
Because I can't afford the flights, and there's all the issues that are going on.
Cry me a river, mate.
Oh, come on. In today's day and age, with the cost of fuel and cancellations and planes and everything else, it's very difficult.
Yeah, but it would have been cool, man. Like, I reckon how cool it would be just to go there. I reckon I'll spend the whole 3 days there, no problem.
Drooling, and touching things. Look, there's been...
I just got to make sure I bring a lot of cash with me as well.
I saw a lot of items that they've got this year there, which seem really interesting, but there's a few other things you sort of look at them and go, wasn't exactly the same thing like that in a different box released like 3 years ago.
Possibly.
So there's a few things. But there is also the Asian version of the NAB.
Oh, is it? I didn't know that.
So there is one that happens locally here, and it's actually meant to be bigger.
What?
Yeah, exactly. There you go. You don't know the name of that one either, do you?
No, I don't.
I don't either. But there is another one that's in Asia.
Like China, or are you talking about...
I'm not sure if it's China or if it's Japan. More likely it's probably China, I'd say. But I was actually invited to that and told that that would actually be bigger. So that might be worthwhile. It's around the corner from us, so we can
it's only, 8 to 10 hour flight?
Yeah.
Should be all right, mate.
Something like that, as opposed to 12 to 16. So anyway, so we're getting off topic. Mission 1 is the new GoPro camera that everyone is talking about because it's revolutionizing the action camera world. So there's 3 versions of it. There's the Mission 1, the Mission 1 Pro, the Mission 1 Pro ILS.
Yep, see.
Sounds wonderful, doesn't it?
Si, senor.
Okay, so this camera is on steroids. This is an action camera that basically they've injected with steroids, and it's popping out of its skin. It's bulky, it's big, it does more than an action camera has ever done before, which is really interesting because action cameras were designed for a particular purpose. So I think one of the first GoPros was designed to take photos of surfing and action sports. So I think that was in 2004, the first GoPro that ever came out, and it only took photos, which is kind of hard to believe.
You had one, didn't you?
I did have an early one, but not the first one that only took photos. I think I had the 2010 model, I'm presuming. But anyway, so then there was a 2006 model, which suddenly introduced video, but it only had burst video, which allowed you to record about 10 seconds worth of video, which was still pretty remarkable back in that stage. Yeah. And then I think 2010, they released the HD version, which then basically unlocked video as we know it today. And over the period, there's been lots of different renditions of the GoPro. There's the GoPro Hero. There's a little GoPro, a little cube one. What's it called? I've got a couple of them sitting at home somewhere. I don't even know their names, but they're like a little cube box. And they've got no screen on them or anything. It's just a camera.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's on tip of my tongue and I don't remember it. But yes, there is.
Yeah, so there's that. There's also the big massive ones, the big flat ones that look like they're pancakes.
You mean the 360 ones?
I'm not sure if they're 360s, but they're about that. No one actually can see that. I'm doing hand signals here, but there's been multiple versions of the GoPros that came out, and each one of them slightly different. But the one that's been the most successful has been the Hero, and that's just kept going and going and going. So I think we're up to Hero 13 at the moment.
Currently, yes.
Yeah. So they came out to be water resistant because they were designed for surfing. They were designed to be small and lightweight, and over the years things have changed. So basically at the end of the day, I think batteries have varied and fluctuated the abilities of those batteries. I believe the earlier versions, like the Hero 2, probably gave you about 2 hours of battery life. And then the Hero 3 came out and that gave you about an hour and a half, which was a drop down. I think the Hero 13 is only rated for about 70 to 80 minutes at the moment from memory. I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
So the battery life seems to have gone down, but that goes with functionality.
Yeah, I mean, look, we did the episode a while back, I think it was number 42 from memory, regarding GoPro versus DJI action cameras.
Yep. And 32, was it? Episode 32 or 42?
42, I believe it was. But yeah, look, the reason why I got the action because of essentially the low light and the battery. You know what I mean? And I mean, even GoPro 13, like recently I did a shoot in a car where I had to, like I said, put, 3 GoPros around and then the actions. And then after the shoot, as in, when they stopped driving after 45 odd minutes, they were recording constantly. And after 45 minutes, the GoPro 13 was so hot to touch. Yeah. It couldn't even put my finger on it. It was just literally boiling, you know what I mean? And action was still going at less than, more than half of battery still I had, you know what I mean? So obviously the DJI have actually, relieved that and then they improved that. Saying that though, I still prefer the GoPro image.
Yeah, well, which is fair enough. I mean, I like the GoPros. I've had multiple cameras over times. Not recently, but in past I had a lot of different ones. Now, also the weight of these units was always meant to be lightweight, but progressively over the years, the actual weight has gotten lighter and lighter. Hero 1 was about 179 grams, I believe it was, and it progressively got less and less and less. And the Hero 13 is only 159 grams, which is it's going in the right direction.
It's reasonable, yeah.
They're lightweight.
I got that on my 3-inch Cinewoop FPV drone, and it does the job fine. Yeah.
And the size. Now, the size, like I said, it was meant to be small. It's progressively gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. I think the original Hero 1 was about 42 by 60 by 30 millimeters. By comparison, the 13 is about 72, which is closing in on almost double the size, 51 by 34.
Evan did his research.
I did. I sat there and weighed up all the different GoPros. But look, it's pretty much kept its size, weight, everything. It's done well throughout the years, so it's been good. Then we've got the Mission 1, which breaks everything.
Yeah.
Let's have a quick look. Battery life. Now, no one's actually had the chance to test this out, but it is estimated that the battery life is going to last for not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4,
but 5 hours.
Yeah, 5 hours on a GoPro. Now, that's to be seen, obviously, because everyone says I can do this and like my product will do that. But when it comes to real life testing, things are different. But they're saying 5 hours. They're saying it's not going to overheat. That overheating that previously used to happen with the Hero 3. I remember we were in Cambodia and I was doing hyperlapse. 13, that's right. Yeah. And it overheated so much that it switched off, multiple times.
It was hot up there though. So,
it was, but nonetheless, we weren't really pushing it that much. I mean, it was low resolution. It was a short period video, and it still kept switching off. So that was disappointing. But supposedly that's also been resolved. So that's really good. All right, so there's 3 different versions. So the Mission 1 is more based for photography. It still will do video, but it's more photography. The Pro version, which is the Mission 1 Pro, is more designed for video work. And both of those cameras have got lenses that are stuck onto it. Right, so they're not interchangeable. Then you got the third version, which is the Pro ILS, which basically means that the lens comes off and you can fit different lenses on. And the type of lenses it takes is not typical of previous GoPros. It'll actually take a micro 4/3 lens.
Yeah. Right. I wonder what mounting that would be though. Would you have to specifically say when you're purchasing the GoPro ILS, ILS, would you have to say, I want Canon mount or a...
No, it's only got the one micro 4/3. That's the only mount it's got.
Oh, I never used one, so I don't know.
Yeah, so micro 4/3 is, I think it was...
So Blackmagic's got one, doesn't it?
Blackmagic does have their action camera, which has the same lens on it. And
action camera?
Well, it was an action camera until you rig it up.
Pocket you're talking about?
No, not the Pocket, the little teensy-weensy square one, which they originally designed for drone work. Never really took off.
That was a long time ago, man.
Yeah, they were solid metal construction, and they weighed a ton, and they never really took off. But they're great cameras, but they never took off. Yeah, so you can put a micro 4/3 lens on there. Now, when you put these lenses on, there is no autofocus. So you need to basically be able to control that focus by hand, unless you put it up to some huge f-stop number, and basically just rely on it.
Well, like we discussed, I think like you feel like it needs to be over like 10 or 11. I feel like it should be 5.6, even 4 will be fine. If you set the aperture ring, the focus ring on the actual infinity. And you're flying it on the FPV drone, that will do the job. But, yes, you're right. You will have to have some sort of a device to be able to control focus if you're using it for anything else. But, yeah.
So cine lenses, you'd have to use a cine lens. You couldn't use a standard autofocus lens because you can't adjust an autofocus lens by hand. You would need to have a cine lens, which basically has the aperture built into the actual lens, which you can adjust by hand, and the focus.
Sorry. I don't know much about sort of micro 4/3. So do they actually release lenses for micro 4/3 cinema line lenses?
Yeah, the Blackmagic one that I've got. Remember the little action cam? It's got a cinema lens on it, and so we've got a little focus puller.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you take a photo of that so we can stick it onto the Instagram page? I want to see it.
I think we actually do have photos of it on Instagram on my page when we were testing out the HDMI transmitter. And we had like 3 transmitters hanging off it. And, And like it was like this little tin.
Sorry, I don't know anything about Micro Four Thirds, so that's why I'm asking the question.
Yeah, but look, it's basically it's not a bad thing. I mean, if you're into that type of thing and you want to do manual focusing by hand, it's great. The only real drawback is when you're focusing by hand, you need to be able to have an image of what you're looking at, so you can focus. So you need to have a screen, right? So you're going to be using the back of the GoPro screen to focus with. It's nightmarish to do that.
It's very small.
They have introduced focus peaking on this particular unit, so you can actually see where you're focusing. There's a red line, but the screen is so damn small. When you've got a big rig, you're running Canons or anything like that, or the Sonys, I don't know about you, but with me, when it comes to focusing, I've always had a bigger monitor, a 5-inch monitor or a 7-inch monitor, just purely for focusing purposes. So you can actually see what the hell you're focusing on. Otherwise, you're sort of like guessing. So having a little teensy-weensy screen on the back is going to be problematic, I think, for me. So what you would need to do is you'd need to rig that camera up.
Yeah.
So you'd have to put a cage on it. You'd have to put a handle on it. You'd have to put a screen on it. Then you'd either focus puller or do it by hand,
So the question is it an action camera as well? Is it?
It's no longer an action camera.
It's not as well.
It becomes the equivalent of a Sony or a Canon, a big camera. And people are saying that, the Mission Pro ILS is more cinematic. It's got interchangeable lenses. It's still a GoPro, let's be honest.
It is a GoPro.
Yeah. And, just because you can change the lens on it doesn't make it a fantastic camera. Now, I can't judge and say it's not going to be as, the image quality is not going to be as good as your Sony or my Canon or my Blackmagic, because we haven't seen it. And it hasn't had real world
We're just speculating at the moment, which time,
Yeah, exactly.
On this conversation.
But let's be honest. I mean, you've got a camera that's worth probably a quarter or a fifth of the price of a proper camera.
Yeah.
Trying to do that job. I'm hesitant to say that it's going to be fantastic quality. As far as GoPros go, I'm sure it's going to be fantastic for a GoPro. But when you're comparing it to cinematic cameras or cine cameras, I'm going to say it's not on par. But you're going to have to rig it up exactly the same, and it's going to weigh just as much by the end of it as a proper full-blown camera. So you sort of start going, well, why am I going that way? And the people are going crazy over it. They're rigging it up. They've got these massive rigs and, shoulder mounts, and you're sort of looking at it and you're like,
yeah, I saw that.
What the f*** are you doing? And which
it makes you wonder.
Yeah, and you might remember about 5 years ago, we used to joke about, there was a picture of, my client asked me to, about my camera because they were impressed with it, and there's a little GoPro rigged up, and there's a matte box on it, and nothing actually was doing anything other than the GoPro.
Yeah.
And we used to laugh about it, but that's actually what's happened.
Yeah,
You've got a fully rigged GoPro.
Well, look, you know what? Whatever the client sees, they kind of go, hey, this is cool, but they don't actually see the actual camera behind it.
Let's be honest, even a Micro Four Thirds small lens would be like twice the size of the actual unit, the GoPro. So, look, I'm not knocking it.
Yeah.
Personally, I think if you're going to start rigging things up and weighing them down, go and get yourself a proper camera that actually records high quality. Not to say that it doesn't record high quality, but at this stage, I'm guessing it doesn't.
Evan is mocking it.
Yeah. But look, they do have the other version, the Mission 1 Pro and the Mission 1. Now, the Pro itself is actually quite good. Right? So 50 megapixel 1-inch sensor. Right. Now, this machine's amazing. It shoots 8K video.
Yeah.
Right.
None of my cameras shoot 8K.
Yeah, my cameras all shoot 8K. Sorry, you got to catch up. So it will shoot 8K video at 60 frames per second.
Yep.
Right. That is pretty damn impressive.
That is impressive, yeah.
For a GoPro, right? Yeah. If you shoot in 4K, it'll shoot at 240 frames per second. If you are shooting in 1080p, which most people don't do nowadays, but occasionally you do, it'll shoot at 480 frames per second. That is astronomically good. Right?
Really? Hang on, I've got here, it's 240 bursts. That's max video. What are you getting that from?
Oh, this is my other research, not the advertisement.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yeah. So it's got amazing capabilities, and then it also does burst videos, which means it basically shoots a lot slower, and it just keeps going and going. 8K from an action camera. I mean, it's not going to be as good as a Canon 8K, or Sony doesn't have an 8K, do they? or a black magic.
Yeah, I'll give you that
8K.
one. I'll give you that one.
You know, but in doing that, by actually producing an 8K camera, they've had to drop off a few other things. So you can only film in 8K, 4K, 1080p. I believe 5.7 was taken off the cards.
Which is not a bad thing. I don't know. I mean, I never really do film in 5.3 on the GoPros at the moment.
Yeah, look, 5.3, I've used it quite a bit actually, because it allows you that little bit of extra cropping and stuff and sharpness. Probably don't use it too much, but it is there. And they've also removed the 2.7K, which I actually don't know anyone who's actually used 2.7, but it's there. So you're shooting 1080p, you're shooting 4K, you're shooting 8K. So it's taken leaps and bounds. Still quite impressive. They've also introduced OpenGate. Now, I don't know very much about OpenGate. People are just raving about OpenGate. I'm just like, whatever, you know. What do you think?
Well, from what I know, OpenGate is a format very similar to what the GoPro does. So the GoPro at the moment does 8x7, and OpenGate essentially what it can be. And I'm hoping I'm right, because I haven't done a lot of research. I just basically had a quick look around. But what it is, if you shoot OpenGate, you can crop in to a 16:9 and 9:16 formats. So essentially you're shooting one video for both.
Yeah, so you're getting both basically.
Both best of both worlds, essentially. That's where it is. And I mean, because you're using a full-size sensor out of the whole thing, it basically gives you that sort of flexibility of both sides, and essentially you don't have to reshoot it or crop in, by 130%, whatever it is, when you're shooting at 16:9. You want to crop it down to 9:16 for Instagram story or whatever else. If it's a good thing or not, I don't know. I mean, yeah, it's a good thing. I think the flexibility is there. And on the GoPro at the moment, we've got 8x7, which that's kind of an open gate, isn't it? Like 4x3, 8x7, same. And I tend to use it a lot now. Like, I mean, anything that I shoot on the GoPro is pretty much 8x7. You know what I mean? Especially when I'm doing FPV work, because that gives me a full sensor of obviously quality. And if I put it through Real Steady, so the software that stabilizes everything through gyroscopic data, it allows me to basically get maximum out of my GoPro itself. So it does work. I mean, I like it. On the big camera, I don't know. I wouldn't probably update my A7S III for an open gate if it does come out, or if it's already out. I don't know. But
in the Canon world, I belong to a lot of forums for the R5C, which is my camera. And as soon as the C50 came out, everyone was like, "Oh my god, it's open gate!" And everyone was dumping their R5C to run to this other camera, which for me doesn't make sense, because the R5C has a specific purpose of being a dual-purpose camera, photos, video. When you get a C50, you sort of lose that option. You don't have an eyepiece in it. It's not all there for me, right? But a lot of people wanted it. They did it. I haven't bothered to chase that up. When I do videos, it's usually one angle. If I talk to the client, find out what they're going to do. If they need two angles, then I bring in a secondary camera. There you go. They get to two angles, and I've got multiple cameras, so that's all I do. It's a pain carrying two cameras, but you can do it. Anyway, so there you go. One of the things that you'll like, and which works really well with the follow focus concept, where you're focusing by hand using the focus peaking on the back screen, is they've got an increased screen size. So it's a 2.59 inch screen,
which is great.
Yeah. So the original, the 13 was, I think, about 2.3 inch. So it's gone up, not a huge amount, but it's gone up. So that's changed. A low light performance is meant to be a lot better now. My GoPro 13, the Hero, I actually don't mind the low light performance on it. I don't really shoot very much during the night, but what it compares to like previous versions of it, I think it does well, but it's not fantastic. Now, you on the other hand probably don't like that, and you recently changed.
Any low light work that I got to do, it will be either Action 5 or Action 6 DJI. I just find that GoPro is just not good enough, and I can't get a usable image out of a low light performance essentially on that camera. So like, give you an example, for instance, I do FPV parties, right, where the guys come over and obviously we race and gates and other things. And the last one that we did it at night. So while the guys hang around, it was a private property, so no issues there. So we sort of light a fire, we set up some lights around the gates, and then we sort of, we got, let's do a bit of an extra challenge. We start racing at night, and I've put the GoPro on that, and there's no way that I can get a usable image out of that. You know what I mean? Where one of the guys brought his Action 5, and it was actually really good. It was actually reasonably good.
Yeah, and I think that's been the downfall of GoPros. They didn't release a GoPro last year, did they? I think the GoPro 13 was the last one they've released, and that's 2 years old.
That is correct, yeah.
Yeah, so they missed out on release, because they usually release a new camera every August, September of every year. They missed it last year. As to the reasons for it, multiple people say different things. I don't know the real reasons. I'm not going to go into it. But they did miss the boat there, and I think the other cameras did take over, so everyone sort of went across to them. People move very quickly, I notice.
Yeah, look, like I said, I still prefer the GoPro image.
Mm-hmm.
I find
just not
that,
at night.
Not at night, yeah. But I do find that the GoPro has much, how can I say this, not crisper, but a bit more, I don't really like that word in the space, but cinematic image.
Yeah, it's got that deepness and richness to it.
Yeah, it does. And Action 5 has a very, like you would say Sonia has, clinical image.
Yeah,
you know
sterile.
I mean?
It doesn't have that oomph to it. Yeah, all that warmth there.
So, yeah, look, I've used Action 5 and 6 on shoots, and I do like it. I mean, I have to shoot in log, and then I color graded and obviously get rid of the saturation, get rid of all the extra bits and pieces that you can obviously set up in the camera as well. But then I tone down the actual contrast on it as well. So it sort of works to my liking a little bit better, you know what I mean? But yeah, like I've used, anyway, that's another probably episode, but for time lapse, for instance, a GoPro doesn't last for very long, you know what I mean? Where the Action 5 and 6, they're really good. They really low performance. Sorry, that's my phone.
But in saying that, the new model's meant to last for 5 hours, so that should resolve that problem.
Let's hopefully, yeah.
It's true to spec.
Because I did actually some tests, and I'm not sure if I mentioned that in the past, but the GoPro, because I've built a time lapse, like a box for a client that we had to do a time lapse for, and he didn't have the budget for obviously $6,000-$7,000 thing. Anyway, I stuck an Action 5 in there, and I did tests on the Action 5 and the GoPro, and GoPro was taking almost 2 amps of power constantly, where Action, for nerds or whatever else, but the Action 5 was only taking 0.03 of an amp while running the time lapse. So it was a huge lifesaver for that particular job, you know what I mean? So anyway, sorry, digressing from there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the mission.
Yeah, no, look, it's interesting getting that perspective, you know, because it did have some problems in the past. Hopefully they've been fixed up going forward. Another one which is actually true to the original purpose of having an action camera or a sports camera was the ability to go underwater. Now, the original GoPros and up to 13, I think they were only up to 10 meters rated for depth of water. So you could take a camera.
I thought it was 15, but yeah, okay.
It might have changed, but generally most of them are about 10. This one's rated at 20 meters, so that's a substantial jump.
Yep.
Now,
for people that obviously doing diving,
look, I think they would appreciate it. Me personally, I don't think I've ever taken my GoPro deeper than 30 centimeters into the bathtub, but getting my freaky videos on. But yeah, 20 meters as opposed to 10, which is pretty awesome. So that's good. Mm-hmm. Buttons are more suited to being pressed if you're wearing gloves. So if you're in the snow, some of the previous buttons, they just didn't work. If you had Humphrey B. Bear gloves on, Humphrey B. Bear is a character that wears a big padded costume like a bear and walks around with children. For people
that just shows your age, my man.
It shows my age, but it also, I don't think anyone out of Australia actually knows what the hell I'm talking about. So I just had to clarify it. So it's like a costume that someone wears. It's a child's show. So if you had big gloves on, you had no chance of pressing any of the buttons. In fact, I think some of the buttons were sensor buttons, aren't they? They don't actually have... Like the back of the screen, you actually got to use your bare hands.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like underwater, like last time I did some snorkeling in Great Barrier Reef, and this was a couple of years ago now. But I brought my 12 with me, I think it was, when it initially came out, and I tried to change some settings underwater, and it was just horrible. You couldn't swipe, you couldn't do anything because obviously the water was getting into the actual between my finger and the screen. And it was just like, you couldn't change any settings. So I'm hoping that they fix that issue as well.
That'll be an interesting one. I never had to worry about that. But anyway.
You got to do some snorkeling, my man.
Yeah, no, not really. Not really snorkeling.
Or scuba diving.
There you go. Now, this is an interesting one. Like, now, the case itself, it's bigger, right? So all the accessories that you used to use on the old camera, the 13, will not work on this particular unit. There are a few things, like the battery. The battery is backwards compatible, which means you can use the GoPro 13 battery now would work in this particular camera. It won't give you the supposed 5 hours, but it would work. And if you need a secondary battery and a backup sort of thing, it will work with that. So that makes me wonder: can I use the battery from the Mission 1 in my GoPro 13? Technically, it should work, and it should last a lot longer.
It should. Well, it depends. Well, yes and no. So depending, obviously, capacity of the battery, number one, but also number two, how much power hungry, I guess, the camera is, because GoPro 13 is quite power hungry. You know what I mean? So therefore, if you use the Mission 1 is probably not as power hungry as the, well, saying that, I mean, mate, this thing's shooting at 8K. That's significant resolution for power. You know
it is, yeah. I'm surprised it's not overheating. I'm surprised it's not acting like a Sony.
We're analysing this now without sort of seeing the camera. Look, I do want to purchase the camera, but when you told me the price of it...
Well, we'll get into that one in a second, because I'm holding off on that one.
You are holding off on that.
I've done some statistics and percentages and...
Oh, right. You're being nerdy all about it.
Yeah, I am, but I actually make it sound like a lot more complicated than what it is. I've just got two figures there that took me like 10 seconds to produce. It's got a lens hood on it because I believe it's got a wider range of views, a wider ability. So compared to the 13, it actually can spot a little bit more on either side. Obviously,
158, I think, isn't it, degrees?
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure I checked it, and there was a 158.
So it is actually bigger than the 13, and that's why there's a lens hood for it as well, which you can take off.
Oh, there you go. Hang on, I got the on my laptop. Laptop.
Look at you're talking
159 degrees field of view.
What was the 13?
Oh, I'll tell you in a second.
I'm going to guess it was about 140 something.
So hang on.
I'm guessing. This is being real scientific.
13 specs. No, so it's smaller by 3 degrees, 2 degrees. 58, 59, 58.
Why are they introducing a lens hood then?
I don't know. So, 156 degrees in 8:7 aspect ratio using hyperview.
That's interesting. That one did not expect.
With optional ultra-wide lens mod. So with the lens mod, it's giving you 177. Now, I've used the lens mod. I bought one.
Mm-hmm. And we're talking the Hero 13 here, aren't we?
Yes. Okay. Yes. But I couldn't use it on my FPV drone. And potentially that's one of the main reasons why I do use my GoPros. Because the field of view at 177 degrees, it's just ridiculous.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
It would be. It's like 180 is that. It's almost 180. That's like, you get your elbows in the picture if you're holding it.
Yeah. That's what I mean. So we're just getting everything, like props and everything, literally everything.
That's reminding me of that old fisheye lens I had for my Canon, one of the early ones where you got to take a photo and your elbows were in every single photo. You're like,
that was 8 mil or something, wasn't it?
6 or 8 mil, something like that. So something ludicrous, but anyway, but it's got a lens hood on it because the lens itself is actually bigger on the Mission than it was on the 13, which I find interesting. So filters, not transferable. You're going to have to get a whole new range of filters as well. So most of the gear you're going to have to change purely because of the body size of the camera. So I think the mounts and all that is still pretty much the same, but cages, you'll have to get a different cage. You'll have to get new filters, blah blah blah. So a bit of a downturn, but the battery is a huge thing for me. I think that's really good having it backwards compatible. Yeah. I hate when you buy something and you can't use any of your old stuff, and you're just like, you've got 40 batteries sitting there, and you're like, well, I can't use a single one of them. What am I meant to do? So that in itself is
I
good.
definitely agree. I mean, look, I've got GoPro 10 now and I've got 12, and I always use those batteries, but the 13's obviously got a different battery setup. So, it's definitely helpful, yes.
It is. Now, this is one of those things where I thought it was really interesting, but I think this is going to capture you. You're going to love this. It has got subject tracking. So it focuses on a person and tracks them.
Oh, yeah. What?
You love that type
What's
of
the aperture on it then? 2.8?
I don't know. You're asking the wrong guy. Actually, to be honest with you, I haven't seen anything about aperture. I don't think it's ever been mentioned. So
Yeah, you're right. I'm just looking at the specs now, and there's no... So hang on. So what's the point of subject tracking if it's, F4 or I don't know, whatever, 8?
Even at F4, you still get some blur in the background.
Yeah, you got to be really close to the freaking camera.
I'm not sure what the subject tracking does, but it sounds interesting. I thought you'd like this.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, there you
Thanks.
go. Sounds right.
Thank you for thinking of me.
I do. Now, what interested me about it, this is the bit that I like, all right? So it has 4 microphones.
4 microphones?
2 on the front, 1 on the side, 1 on the back.
Oh,
So-
why 2 at the front?
Stereo, I'm guessing. I don't know.
Oh.
So you can hear
Yeah,
people
you're
screaming
yeah.
when they're falling off a cliff. Stereophonic sound. Look at me drowning. But I'm an audio person. I love audio.
Yeah,
So
I
4
know.
microphones is really good. Let's be honest, though. 4 microphones on a GoPro are pretty shit to begin with anyway. So it's 4 times shit. It becomes 4 times shittier. I don't like the
So it's
audio.
good.
Depends on how you look at it. I think the audio in any action camera is shit. Now, let's be honest. I mean, for me, I'm always obsessed with audio. So for me, it's like, well, yeah, it's great if you're into that type of thing. But for me, it's just, I'm going to be bypassing that anyway.
Yeah.
It does allow you to use a generic USB-C mic input.
Oh, good.
Because in past, I believe it was, you had to use their connector.
Yes.
So you were sort of forced to use one of their microphone
I think
jacks.
so. I can't remember now.
Yeah, so that in itself is really good, which means you can actually...
You know what, though? That's actually really helpful because I've got the Pocket 3.
Mm-hmm.
So DJI Action... Is it Action? Yeah. And DJI Pocket 3. And the other day I was shooting and it was tracking the face because, how it's on the gimbal. And I've actually plugged in a GoPro... Sorry. I plugged in a wireless Rode Go to it. And I've mic'd up myself and I've mic'd up one of the other guys. And I've put face tracking on it. And he was just literally walking around talking. And both of us were talking and it was crisp, clear audio. It was really good. I was actually really impressed. So if they've got that in this new GoPro, that's fantastic. That's really good.
But wait, there's more.
But there's more.
This is the bit where I started hyperventilating and going, yeah. It has 32-bit float.
Ooh.
So that means, and we've talked about 32-bit float in previous versions previous podcast episodes, not versions, where we've spoken about 32-bit float. But in short, what it means is basically when you record something, if the volume goes too high and it distorts, like for example, I won't do it now. Normally we make a screaming sound in the background.
I was going to do it, but I won't.
We did that last time. If the audio distorts, you cannot really use that audio because you can never revert back from a distorted signal. 32-bit float basically makes it impossible for you to distort it. So it might be distorted when you record it, but you can actually remove the level and it actually brings the distortion out. So that is impressive. 32-bit
So I wonder
float.
how then, sorry, I'm just thinking out loud here. Rode Go,
that's it, yeah.
plug it into my Sony camera, for instance, because the Sony A7S III doesn't have 32-bit float. It records directly on the camera without 32-bit float. It's only normal, right?
Normal. So if there's distortion, the camera will record the signal distorted.
So if you want to fix that, you got to plug in the headset or the little cube thing.
Well, the
Rode
cube thing's plugged in regardless. It's always there. It's just basically said that's what receives the signal from the microphone, puts it into the camera. But if you're recording onto the cube itself, that's when you can activate 32-bit float. So the audio on the cube can be fixed so the distortion's there, not there. But the signal going to the camera will not be able to be fixed. So what you do is basically if you do record something onto your camera remember, if you're
Yeah, I
using
know.
that system, it's the camera's acting as a backup. So what would happen is you just overlay the audio from the actual Rode Go recorder over the top of the actual audio.
But being a 32-bit float recorder, the GoPro, would that still record in 32-bit float?
Yeah. So it's recording in 32-bit float.
So even if I plug in my Rode Go...
Yeah, because it's actually the actual unit itself is the recorder, not the microphone.
Oh, okay, cool. All right then, sweet.
Yeah.
That makes me excited too.
Yeah, so that is awesome. Here's another one for you. This is an interesting one because I'm part of a lot of forums and I read posts of people going, oh, I took this video and there was this flickering in the background and I didn't notice it because I'm blind, and my video now has this flickering throughout the whole entire video and the client's cracking the shits at me because they can't use it.
Yeah,
you can edit it in post-production. It's never going to be fantastic, but you can edit it. But a lot of cameras nowadays have auto-censoring flickering. So what happens is it picks up the hertz rates of lights and stuff like that and adjusts to them. So it's got an anti-flicker auto setting on it. I don't know how true this is, but that's what I've been told. So it actually...
So the actual hertz, because the current GoPro 13's got auto setting between 50 and 60 hertz.
Is that's auto
different?
Or do you actually adjust that?
No, I think that's... I don't know.
So the 50 and the 60 is where the actual hertz is where the flicker happens. So if you're recording at 50 and the lights in the room are running at 60 hertz, it flickers. And it's like watching a movie on TV where they're filming and there's a TV in the background and you're seeing lines going up on the TV because the TV is running at a different hertz to what the camera was or what you're watching. So it goes out of sync. So what you generally do when there's flicker, you can change from 50 to 60 or 60 to 50 depending on the lighting. In Australia, it's meant to be 50.
Yeah, US supposed to be 60.
Yeah, which is double of the frame rate. So, in Australia, we shoot at 25 frames per second, supposedly, right? Because everything here is meant to be 50 hertz.
Yep.
People shooting 30, they get the flicker, they're like, oh, what's going on? But there's been times where, depending on the place you're in, they might have really cheap lighting from China, and China usually does cheap lighting at 30.
Yeah.
So that's where you get your flicker. So this will automatically do it for you. So even if you don't pick up on it happening, it will supposedly change it, which I think is a great option to have.
Definitely.
Especially for those people who are blind.
That's the one. Sorry for blind people.
There you go. All right, so 3 models. You got the Mission 1, Mission 1 Pro, Mission 1 Pro ILS, sorry, I should say. The Mission Pro and the Mission 1 both are waterproof, I'm presuming, because they've got fixed lenses, right? So typical of the GoPro. But Mission 1 Pro ILS, which then you put on a different lens.
Are you saying it might not be waterproof? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying it's guaranteed not to be waterproof. So if you're looking to do cinematic videos underwater, the Mission 1 Pro ILS is not the camera for you.
So you're shit out of luck. Is that what you're saying?
Unless you want fish swimming around in your sensor. So that's one of the drawbacks to the ILS system. It's interesting. I mean, they're marketed to different areas. Personally, the ILS model seems a bit...
You got to see it to believe it. Is that what you're saying?
No, not really. It's more gimmicky for me. Because, I mean, if I'm going to be rigging out a camera, why would I be rigging out a GoPro? It doesn't...
Because you can.
Yeah, okay. All right, there you go. All right, so...
Did they, in your travels, did they talk about stop? So how many stops of range does it have? Does it give you any of that sort of info?
I to be honest with you, I don't remember seeing that, but there might be something out there. I mean, I didn't go overboard with my research. And the information is quite limited. There's a lot of people out there talking about how great this camera is, and they're testing it and they're doing that. But the reality behind it is this is not the final version. They're still updating the firmware. The firmware hasn't been finalized. So what they're talking about and what you get is going to be 2 different things. It might be better, it might be worse.
Yep.
Hopefully not worse. I doubt it'll be worse, but there is a possibility. So it's like a first version of the camera. So there are problems with it. So anyway, 2 last things I want to point out. So originally GoPros were meant to be light, and progressively, the weight went down and they got lighter and lighter and lighter, which is really good. Then comes the Mission 1, and suddenly that weight is astronomically high.
I wouldn't call it astronomically high. I mean, on Mission 1 Pro, it's only 209 grams or more.
No.
Hang on. What is it?
214 grams.
Oh, okay. So I was a couple of grams off. Well, look,
that's a 25% increase in weight. Now, look, I mean, you're not carrying a brick with you, fair enough, but it's still a 25%.
So from 150 odd grams from GoPro 13.
Yeah.
Look, from my perspective, from an FPV pilot's perspective, totally agree. I mean, that's shocker. You know what I mean? Because I mean, if I'm flying a 3-inch Cinewhoop through, it's a small drone, and I'm flying it through a factory around people or whatever else because I can, and I've got obviously written and consents and all that sort of jazz. The flight time on it at the moment, I'm getting probably a good 6 to 7 minutes, which is great. If I'm going to put a 215 odd gram camera on it,
and it is bigger as well,
and it's bigger too. So I mean, look, it is where it is. I'll reprint because I've got a 3D printer now. Ta-da!
Oh yeah, brag about it.
I can reprint them out and then chuck it in there. But saying that though, the front motors will definitely be working a lot harder to maintain the aircraft in the air. Do you know what I mean? And my flight time will definitely decrease to at least 3 to 4 minutes, I reckon, from 5 to 6 minutes to even 7 minutes, sometimes if I'm not pushing it. So from an FPV perspective, yes. So I'm just going to have to wait now for someone to strip that thing apart and make it a naked GoPro, baby.
That will be interesting. Now, another deal breaker for me was the cost. Now,
yeah, when you told me that, I was kind of...
You didn't believe it, did you?
No, I didn't.
So the GoPro 13, if you were to go down to... And for some reason, the website for GoPro is selling it at an astronomically high price by comparison to what you can buy it locally.
We checked that.
Yeah, so locally in Australia, which, remember, the Australian dollar compared to other places is very different, so, do some calculations there. But the cost of a GoPro 13 at the moment at your local retail store will be about $450.
Yep.
Which is astronomically cheap.
That's really good. That's
good value.
Go
buy some.
For something like that shoots at 5.3K at log and such a small format. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it puts that type of camera in everyone's grip, because let's be honest, $400 for $450 if you want to be specific, but it's achievable by most people. Right? It's not like a $6,000 camera where only select few can buy.
Totally agree.
Right, so it's fantastic. The cost of the Mission.
And look, the thing is, I'm interested in Mission 1 Pro because who's going to use a GoPro for photos or just a crappy 4K 120 frames per second kind of thing? I mean,
you're going to be disappointed with this, because the Mission 1, the base model, is the cheapest of them all.
Yep.
All right. Now, you ready for a heart attack? $900
Aussie.
So it's twice the price of the GoPro 13 Black.
It is double the price almost, isn't it?
Yep. And then, if you wanted to buy the Mission 1 Pro or the Mission 1 Pro ILS, which are ironically both of them are identically priced, you are looking for the sum of $1,100. Which, I mean, obviously with time it might go down in price, and if you wait 3 years, you'll be able to get it cheaper. But if you want to buy it now, that's an increase from the Hero 13 of 210% in price.
Yep.
That is astronomical.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at that price, you can go buy yourself a Canon, or I'm presuming a Sony too. Okay, we won't discourage people from Sony, but
sure,
you can go buy entry level, probably second stage entry level sort of camera from Canon, mirrorless, takes amazing shots, probably cropped, for about $900.
Yeah.
So you sort of go, well, do I go for the Mission 1 Pro ILS?
But it shoots in 8K.
These other cameras shoot at 4K, possibly 6. Actually, don't hold me on that 6K, but they would shoot at 4K. Do you really need 8K?
Look, to be honest with you, the price pushed me back a little bit. And I was thinking to myself, because I got the GoPro subscription, because I do smash the cameras all the time. Saying that, though, I mean, they're only giving me $100 off, which is next to nothing. So,
which brings it down to the same price as buying it at retail.
Well, essentially, yeah. And that's what I mean. Like, it's just like, makes you think, why should I buy that? You know what I mean? Because I can't really use an FPV drone unless it's sort of, being stripped down to bare nothing. Yeah, look, it sounds really good. And look, I must say the GoPro stock levels have gone up significantly higher since they announced this, right?
Yeah.
So they have actually got people excited. They definitely did.
It's come along like 8K. Seriously, for an action camera, it's ridiculous.
Well, actually, the thing is, like, that's what I mean. Like, my FX6 doesn't shoot in freaking 6K. You know what I mean? And 4K. I've been saying this in the previous episodes. 4K is pretty much all you need at the moment. Like, you don't really. I mean, yes, you can. I know you're going to tell me to get stuffed and 6K and 8K and all that sort of jazz. But do you really need 8K?
It depends on your client base, and the reality behind that is most clients will say to you, "Yeah, I want it in 4K," and the final product gets onto Instagram, which is probably shooting at 720 or 1080p.
1080p.
So you don't need it for cropping and editing stuff. Yeah, it's good, but I mean, let's be honest, right? If you're going to be running this camera in 8K, running it at 60 frames per second, what size memory card are you going to have?
Yeah, that's another thing too.
I mean, it's going to have to be astronomical.
At least 1 terabyte.
Yeah,
memory
at least.
And it doesn't come with memory, right?
No, nothing built in. But so 1 terabyte at 8K, 60 frames per second, you're probably going to be lucky to get 20 minutes out of it. Right?
That is true.
This is stuff that people don't consider when it comes time to buy one. Yeah, oh my God, it's 8K, it's 60 frames per second. Oh, and I got to spend $1,100 on it, and then I got to go buy a memory card, which is probably going to cost me another $600-700.
Yeah, that's right.
And the cost of memory at the moment is going through the roof. So look,
and then think about the computer as well. The computer, you're going to have to edit everything in proxies.
Yes,
because of the fact that most of the computers. There's no way. I don't know. I've got the Max Studio 2, whatever it is. I don't think that can smash out 8K. I mean, you possibly could. I mean, I've shot on my Inspire 3. I've shot 8K on it, and it did a good job. But like, if you're editing a whole video, like a 2-minute video on it, it's going to be struggling. The computers are going to be struggling.
Yeah. I mean, I had to upgrade my computer just recently because it was getting to the point where 6K was killing it, and that was like I think it was like 12-core monster, and it was still struggling. I had to go off and buy a 32-core monster at the moment now, which it's unbelievable.
Yep.
The amount of money I spent on this thing. And look, it does 6K without a problem now. 8K, it sort of struggles a little bit with, right? But that thing costs more than my car. Which is to say that I own a shit car. No,
you do have a pretty crappy car.
but there's a lot of other factors that need to be considered. So, yeah, look, awesome camera. It sounds like the specs are amazing. Don't forget the cost of additional accessories, processing power of your computer. Chances are your computer's not going to be able to keep up with it, so you're going to have to buy another computer, which is probably going to cost you another $10,000. It is a costly.
It does. Look, at the end of the day, we're saying all this stuff, but like GoPro is known as an action camera. Simple as that.
Exactly. And me personally, the Mission 1 Pro ILS, cute, it's fancy. Everyone's talking about it. Practicality-wise, doesn't exist for me. So
that's our opinion, though. I mean, your opinion can be different.
Oh no, everyone can have an opinion, but no one's going to be as accurate as my opinion. So
that's right. Everyone's wrong, but I'm right.
Yeah. But the Mission 1 Pro, I see a place for it. The Mission 1 Pro ILS, I don't. Other people are harping about how great it is. Now, the big question and the final question for today is, which one are you buying?
Honestly, I really was considering Mission 1 Pro, but the question is now, like, what am I going to use it for? Do you know what I mean? And, GoPro's got really sort of, with the subscription thing, I'm supposed to be getting all these fancy deals and stuff because I got the subscription and, the replacing cameras and other sort of jazz. Yeah, look, I can't really stick it on a GoPro. I can't stick this GoPro on an FPV drone unless I'm doing like a 7-inch FPV, which, hey, that would be fantastic. Yeah, don't get me wrong, it would be great. However, it's significantly higher weight, and if, as we all know, FPV drones do get lost. So if anything goes wrong, there goes my $1,000. You know what I'm saying?
And don't forget the $1,000 memory card.
I forgot about that $1,000 memory card.
And then you got the $10,000 computer at home that you won't have to use anymore. But
useless. Get rid of it.
Right. So what you're saying now is you're only going to go for the Mission 1 Pro, and you're going to buy 2 of them. Is that right?
Nah. Look, I look, once it comes out in Australia, I think I'm definitely going to consider it. But right now, I think the GoPro 13 does an amazing job for short stints. And if it's sitting on an FPV drone, it gets cooled down very nicely because a lot of good air is flowing through it. But yeah, look, I'll have to consider it. Yeah.
Okay.
Really carefully.
There you go. There you got the.
Will you be buying one? That's the question.
No, I won't. Outright, no interest at all. I generally miss a lot of generations of GoPros. So, I had one of the early GoPros. Then I think it was like the Hero 1 or 2. And the next one I bought was the Hero 5. Then the next one I bought was the Hero 8. And then I just, last year when we were going to Cambodia, I picked up the Hero 13. So there's huge gaps in between. But the thing is, like, the reality behind it, even the Hero 5 that I've got sitting at home still does a good job for what I use it for.
1080, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need more than that for what that camera's designed for. If I want to do high-quality video and stuff like that, I'll break out the other cameras.
Look, I've got the 5, and weight-wise, it's fantastic. It's so small, so cute. I'm thinking this new one's going to be a monster.
You're going to have to get a wheelbarrow to carry it in.
A little wheelbarrow.
All right, so to answer your question, I'm not getting one. I'm going to wait until maybe, say, the Hero 14 comes out. Boom, 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 boom.
Well, yeah, that's the question, isn't it? Is 14 actually coming out? Or
well, rumour has it that it's coming out in August.
September,
September, somewhere around there. But what's a month
but
between,
like,
friends?
seriously, like, it makes you wonder because every generation of GoPros, like secondhand or whatever else. So if they're going to release 14, and then Mission 1 essentially on the same, timeline, that means everyone's sort of will prefer to go for the Mission 1 rather than 14. So the GoPro 14 sales are going to go.
Well, yes and no. There's not much specs on the 14, and it's only rumours at the moment, but the rumours have it that it is going to be an 8K camera, which basically follows in the suit of Mission. It won't have, obviously, all the fancy gear, and it won't have a detachable lens for a non-waterproof, non-focusable lens, but they're supposedly saying it's going to... Well, it would make sense. I mean, you're not going to go off and produce a 4K action camera for the 14. It's already been done. You need to improve, and the logical step is 8K. Sorry, 8K. So
I still don't, like, personally, I really don't see 6 or 8K as a valid point to update your GoPro 13. I mean, unless they're going to fix the battery issue, unless they're going to fix the overheating issue, unless they're going to fix, I don't know, touchscreen issues or whatever else that I've got anyway, underwater. But yeah, I know what you're saying, 100%. 100%.
Well, they're saying that they're fixing them up, but who knows? But that's pretty much it.
Thank you for listening. Our opinion on something that hasn't actually come out yet.
Yes, and it's based on what we've been told, which is not always accurate. But look, I mean, a lot of this information seems to carry through. I've tried to represent the stuff that I've heard, which is consistent. Not stuff that's sort of like out there and you sort of go, what the fuck is this guy talking about?
Yeah.
Or, someone who supposedly got one and they're saying, does this and does that. If you heard something that doesn't seem to make sense, I've sort of stayed away from it.
Let us know.
There's a lot of other stuff in there which they've talked about, which I was just like, you know what, I can't verify any of this. The stuff that we've spoken about today, generally speaking, is pretty accurate. There is going to be a different version of the firmware coming out with the camera when it's released, which will change things slightly, but I think for the better. And I guess until they're on the marketplace, we won't know for certain. We can do an episode in 3-4 months' time, or in my case, 5 years' time, when I actually buy one.
If I do buy one, I'll give you one. I'll lend you mine for a week, and you can test it.
You'll trust me with a camera?
Of course I can.
Oh, you're the best.
I'll trust you with everything. I will trust you with my Sony.
Yeah, you can keep that. Anyway, so that brings us to the end of our show for this episode.
So before we do go, I've something popped up on my feed, and GoPro actually did say that this is a not a GoPro Hero version. They've actually built a brand new camera, and they're considering that as a cinema line camera essentially. So yeah, something different. Also confirming the battery, and I found this after the episode. The battery does last for 5 hours, but on 1080p only. So if we're putting that to 4K or 8K, the battery doesn't last for very long, unfortunately, again. So there you go. GoPro Mission ILS is a cinema line camera. There you go.
Thanks, Marty, for having me back in your studio. And
oh, mate, glad to see you here, to be honest with you.
I escaped the kids tonight. And,
yeah, you got to do it once a week, mate.
I know, and I wasn't stuck in the office today. I got up extra early, did my office hours, and then snuck out when no one was watching. And yeah, managed to make it in. So thank you for having me. Thanks for everyone for listening. It's goodbye and good night from me.
Toodaloo. Ciao.